The United States has 104 nuclear reactors, 32 states, all regulated by one agency in Washington that is having its own meltdown. Members of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission have written to the White House claiming that their chairman is unfit to lead the agency and could potentially put the nation's safety at risk. On Wednesday, a House panel will be investigating the chairman's leadership. Joining us now, Congressman Darrell Issa, Republican from California, and the chairman of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, holding that hearing, and also Congressman Ed Markey, Democrat of Massachusetts, one of Congress's leading members on energy and nuclear issues from Energy and Commerce Committee. Welcome both. First to you, Chairman Issa. You have raised this issue. You're going to be chairing this hearing. What is going on with this agency, and who's in charge of our nuclear safety right now?
Well, that's a great question, Andrea. Obviously, this controversy did not cause this hearing to be held. We had scheduled a hearing and then a combination of letters to the White House and now a letter directly to me calling in question Chairman Jaczko's ability to lead this commission has obviously elevated it to be that issue, and we plan on having a second panel to further evaluate that. But the question is the most important one. If the two Democrats on the commission appointed by President Obama plus two Republicans, one reappointed by President Obama, cannot find any basis to continue working with this chairman, that's an independent agency telling us it's in crisis.
Now, Congressman Markey, I know that Chairman Jaczko at one point worked for you. He worked for Harry Reid, but he's been at this agency for years. He's an experienced regulator. What is the dispute? You're on the complete opposite side of it.
Thank you. Yes, Chairman Jaczko is a nuclear physicist, and what he has decided after receiving recommendations from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission staff and an independent analysis is that, one, there should be tougher safety standards to protect against hydrogen explosions, such as those that occurred at Fukushima. There should be stronger safety protections built into nuclear power plants in the event of earthquakes, such as that which have occurred even in Northern Virginia in August. That there needs to be backup diesel generating capacity in the event that a nuclear power plant loses its electricity and the core of the plant starts to melt down. That these nuclear power plants need better fireproofing to protect against an accident. Well, there are 4 commissioners who do not want to do this. And that they are consistent with the tradition of this agency being a lapdog and not a watchdog for nuclear safety for the American public. Chairman Jaczko, as a nuclear physicist, is standing up and saying, post-Fukushima, we have to learn the lessons, build in the safety measures in order to protect the American public.
Congressman Markey, the president has said nothing about this yet. What do you, both of you, first to you, then to Chairman Issa, what do you want to hear from the White House on this?
I believe that the president has named the best chairman of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission in its history in terms of his commitment to nuclear safety. I know the nuclear industry thinks it's too expensive to build in these safety recommendations. I know that 4 of the commissioners are saying it's too expensive to build in additional safety protections for the American public, but I would like the president to stand up and just say that he believes that the safety of the American people is more important than any extra money the nuclear industry has to spend in order to make these plants safe.
Chairman Issa, what about the issue of nuclear safety? We've seen what happened in Japan, the absolute disaster after the tsunami, and how the country was affected.
Andrea, I'm a congressman from California, so I know after every earthquake we figure out ways we should improve building construction in California. You obviously learn from these, but at the same time, let's not live up to Rahm Emanuel's famous expression of never let a crisis go to waste. Jaczko is not, in fact, quote, a scientist. What he is much more than that. He is a political operative that worked for Congressman Markey. He worked for Leader Reid, Senator Reid. This is somebody who has the political background and an ideology, which is fine, but now faced with 2 Democrats appointed by President Obama. Ed Markey's calling this independent agency and 2 people recently appointed by this president as lapdogs to an industry, rather than recognize that we need to look at where this conflict really comes from, why they can't resolve it in an agency that has historically elevated safety in America every year, and it's been very important to our industry, an industry that's learned from its mistakes. And most importantly, let's not prejudge the science. We're going to have a second panel, including a scientist from the agency. We're going to have a representative from the White House if they respond. We're not going to prejudge anything, except we have an extraordinary crisis among commissioners. 3 out of the 4 that are objecting to Jaczko are, in fact, people who were appointed or reappointed by this president. So this should be essentially all about not Republicans versus Democrats or safety versus non-safety. It should be about finding out why this chairman cannot bring together even one of the 4 commissioners to see that he has some leadership quality. This is extraordinary. We want to deal with it as government oversight and reform, not under any ideology. We will look at the science. I have a nuclear power plant with 2 reactors in my district. Right on the coast. We very much want to make sure that we learn from Japan. We learn from anything to make these facilities greater. But I think it's much clearer that when Ed Markey said that he decided, that begs the real question. If he decided, then is he chairman with 1 out of 5 votes, or is he dictator, and that's why the other 4 are objecting to his leadership style?
Well, I think we obviously have to leave it there and follow your hearings on Wednesday. But Chairman Issa, Congressman Markey, thanks for joining us. But it certainly isn't very reassuring to the public to have the Nuclear Regulatory Commission this divided and dysfunctional. To be continued. Thanks to both.